I'm coming. Not to show up, but to show out. And not to be the rest, but to be the best. I'm coming. Hey, listen up, listen up, listen up. We ain't new to this. We're true to this. Not to compete, but to win. Not to show up, to show out. Not to be amongst the best, but to be the best. Oh, we're coming. I'm coming. I'm going to show out. I'm coming. Damn, I'm coming. I said I'll be right there. Shit, almost had it too. I'm never going to get this done. Oh, he's coming all right. Coming straight to a couch near you to take your best players. Coach Prime. Coach Prime. I look pretty cool in these shades, don't I? I can't see shit out of them, but I do look cool. Welcome back once again. We're here to talk a little bit. This video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Coach Prime situation. He last night, after winning the SWAC championship, beating the brakes off of Southern, they decided to skip their press conference and just head on out. Coach Prime, he's he got a lot of people upset down in Jackson. He does. But I guess my question would be for everybody, and hit us up in the comments. You know, be sure to like our video and stuff. And if you're not already a subscriber, I appreciate it if you go ahead and do that as well. But I guess my question for everybody is going to be, what would you say? Did Coach Prime get enough done to go ahead and leave?
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Yeah, don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
Let's go!
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted...
Okay. Not to compete, but to win. Not to show up, but to show out. Not to be amongst the rest, but to be the best. I'm coming. I'm flat out coming. This is real. This ain't no ESPN or this ain't one of the networks you just happen to see me on. I'm right in front of you. You know why? Because I'm coming. I ain't gonna lie, everybody that's sitting in front of the seat ain't gonna have a seat when we get ready. But I'm coming. I started, and we're gonna go dominate, and we're gonna work. I'm coming to work and not to play. I'm coming to kill it and not to kick it. I'm coming.
He's coming. That's right. Coach Deion Sanders, better known as Coach Prime, has made the jump from Jackson State, the HBCU college, which he has gone undefeated in the SWAC conference for the last 2 seasons. It has gotten him a job in the Power 5, albeit at pretty tough place to go do it at. Coach Daryl Dorrell was the head coach there. They fired him after I think it was like 3 games coming into the season. Now you look at a guy who comes into a situation. I mean, he went into the Jackson State deal and they were terrible at that moment too. And so, I mean, I got to tell you, the main thing that I'm taking from this move is that he just put not only the Pac-12, but especially the Pac-12, but the rest of the country on notice. The dude was already getting number 1 type recruits to go follow him to Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi, and play football there. Okay. Travis Hunter, who he says, and I mean, this is crazy to hear this coming from Coach Prime, but he thinks that he might be better than he was as a defensive back, a blanket coverage type of guy. He's already pretty much decided he's going to go. There's as many as I think about 10 is what he was saying in the team meeting that I'm going to show you, or that you just saw with the players that are still at Colorado. He made no bones about it. A lot of those guys are going to be out. He said, I didn't play the entirety of this talk, but he was like, basically, we're going to try to make you leave. See what we got with you, and if you can handle what we're going to do. This guy is a winner at every level. Myself, I don't seem to. I mean, shoot. The thing about Coach Prime is, whatever you want to say about his coaching ability, or how far along he is in the coaching process of being a head coach, what he does know from his years as a professional, not just football player, baseball player, being around it all. He's had it, but he's coached now from high school to the HBCU level, and now he's made the jump to Power 5 in Division 1. What I've noticed is all the guys that he has coaching with him, these guys are all career coaches, been there. He even brought in Mike Zimmer, who was the head coach of the Vikings up until this past season when he was let go. He brought him in as an analyst. I mean, he's bringing in real deal coaches, and he wanted to be able to get this kind of a job so that he can pay these coaches what they need to make. There is a lot of flack about this, though, folks. And I guess my question would be to you, as I said, did he do enough? Did he do enough? Did he fulfill the promise that he made for the HBCU community, for Jackson State? I'm not going to make a big opinion about that. What I would tell you is this. I have a hard time telling people what they can and can't do. He was not. Some of the stuff that I heard, just over the last, since this all broke on Saturday night, some of the things that I've heard coming out of the communities around there, the content creators that make a lot of HBCU content, particularly about Coach Prime, there is a lot of backlash, a lot of pretty messed up things being said about him. And my thing is this, and I'm not. Listen, I don't have a dog in this fight, so I just want to make that clear. That to me, I understand what he's talking about, saying that he can make a difference for Black men, coaches, kids, more so at that level, getting them into the league, whether it be as a coach or a player. The other thing is, though, is it all on Coach Prime to be the savior here? Is it not okay for him to take this job? I mean, this is his third season. He's finishing up his third season. He will be going back. He was saying that he still has unfinished business. They're going to go back. They're going to play in the Celebration Bowl. So he's going to go back. He's got some unfinished business. He will be he will be coaching the team for the Celebration Bowl. He did leave kind of weird after the championship the other night. They did not come to press conference after their trophy presentation. That wrinkled a lot of folks there at the Jackson State media room or whatever, but it got a lot of people upset. That being said, and there's a lot of people that have said a lot of things. I got to tell you that I feel like, just my own personal opinion, I think that he is well within his rights to do what he wants to do. If he feels like this was the right way to go, fine with me. Now what I would say again, the people that really ought to be pissed off are going to be the coaches that are going against him, because he was already beating guys like Saban, Florida State. He flipped Travis Hunter from Florida State, his own alma mater. And before the day was up yesterday, he got a commitment from a 5-star player already, receiver, for the 2025 class, the number 7 overall receiver in that class, Mr. Winston Watkins Jr. No relation to this Jason Watkins, but yeah, this guy is apparently some kind of a football player. I think it was kind of being said all the way around. Here's what I would tell you. You're going to see a lot of these kids go that way. The other part of it is this. Colorado was 1-11 this past season under Durrell. And, of course, he didn't make it through. I think he got through like 4 or 5 games. So, but what they're bringing in just from Jackson State, I feel like could make a big difference. You have Shedeur Sanders, his son, who is the quarterback. This kid was getting some talk about Heisman early in the season, which I believe has something to do with this move anyway. I think that when they started talking Heisman, but then they pretty much everybody dismissed it right away, I would say. Pretty much everybody dismissed it immediately because of the fact he plays at the FBS level, or FCS level, sorry. Because of the fact they're playing at HBCU, FCS level, he wasn't going to get any real consideration for it. Now, something that was notable was the fact that something that I saw was the fact that your likely Heisman winner for this season is in the Pac-12, as is Colorado, in Caleb Williams. So, Shedeur, I believe he has 2 years left. He could have that extra year because of COVID. I'm not exactly sure how that goes, but he's got a couple of years to maybe come up, have a chance at the Heisman. But in any event, he's going to raise his NFL stock if he continues to play at the level that he's played at Jackson State. And he has been phenomenal, to say the least. So I would just say that that's one of those. I'm about to lose my screen here. I would say that that's one of those deals where you gotta. I think that as a father, that's where I think Coach Prime is really, his head is at. Because of the fact that now to take a Power 5 job if he could get it, and I feel like he was up for a few. Cincinnati was also in the mix, I think, with losing Luke Fickell this past week to Wisconsin. And there was some talk for a little bit about the Nebraska job, that he could take that one as well. So there were some options there, even South Florida, who hired a coach, I believe yesterday, day before as well. But, you're looking at a situation where really, and I mean, when you start looking in, let's take a look at this video here. When they took him on this little tour and stuff, they were blown away. And I got to tell you, I was blown away watching it myself. I know that this is kind of a sleeping giant of a program. Colorado, when they were a Big 12 team, was the real deal. I can remember back to whenever I was a kid and you had guys like, in 95, I believe it was, that Rashawn Salam won the Heisman. You also had Eric Bieniemy, this offensive coordinator there for the Kansas City Chiefs, was another one of the great players that came out of there. Joel Klatt, I believe, was the quarterback at Colorado. It's a sleeping giant of a program. They have not been in good hands since, I believe it was Barnett was the last coach that did really anything with them. Since they got to the Pac-12, when they left the Big 12, it hasn't been good. They left at the same time that Nebraska did, and but they went the other way. So to me, I feel like you kind of have this is a big deal, and their facilities are amazing. They've got big time donors. They want to win, and they think that they've got the best coach in the country to get that done as far as young. And now, what I would tell you is that whether or not he has a ton of coaching chops, really doesn't matter. Okay, I could tell you that aside from Kyle Whittingham, who just won his second straight Pac-12 championship, a lot of these coaches in the Pac-12 and in fact, David Shaw was the ranking, other than Whittingham, Pac-12 coach. He resigned at the end of the season from Stanford. You have a new coach at Washington, first-time head coach. You have Dan Lanning at Oregon, first-time head coach. You have Lincoln Riley, second-time head coach. But he showed again, and I'm going to sit here and say this again, and that what he can and what he does and doesn't know about putting together the entirety of a program. Whittingham exposed him this season. And so that's your guy that you kind of have to look at as that's going to be the benchmark for Coach Prime. Now, of course, you got to build that roster up. I think they were like in talent, they're ranked somewhere in, I want to say it was only like 1 or 2 spots ahead of Jackson State in the 60s or whatever, because Jackson, and that tells you something about being able to have a top 60, 75 team, whatever, as far as talent's concerned, because you're recruiting at the FCS level at Jackson State. That's pretty good. I think they were 1 behind, or maybe, something around there. Colorado. So now you bring in Shedeur Sanders, you bring in Travis Hunter, who again is a blanket defender. Everything I've seen from this kid, there's going to be times that receivers are not going to get open. When you got a guy like Lincoln Riley, as good as they are on offense, when you get physical, and I promise you these Jackson State teams have been physical, because Mike Zimmer, this guy was a defensive coach. I don't know that he's going to stay on staff. I believe he may. There's a couple of coaches that won't be, and he had actually, Coach Sanders had recommended them for the head coaching position. I don't know if that was just his way of saying, bye, you're not coming with us. So who knows? Who's to say? I know that he has a lot of allegiance to a lot of his guys. From what I understand, though, Shiloh Sanders didn't play in the conference championship game on Saturday, was apparently very angry about his father leaving the program. So I mean, it got heated from the rumors are that it got heated to the point that he did not even come to the stadium, dress out, nothing. He was definitely not in the game or on the sideline. And he was not on the trip. Everybody else in Coach Prime's family was on the trip, as you'll see in this video right here. So the NIL thing is going to be a big thing there. There's going to be people that are opening their pockets. When you get a guy that's an NFL Hall of Famer, pretty much considered the best corner to ever do it, period, and that people love, they've listen, none of these kids pretty much they are playing for him were alive when he played, or maybe at the very end of his career. But he's been so visible since then that they love him. And, he's always got people around. Snoop Dogg's coming around. He's got Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, everybody you can think of that played at an HBCU or was big in the league that was buddies with him show up at his practices. There's always cameras on. I mean, if you want to be front and center, that's the place to be. There's a lot of places around the country that are like that, but nothing quite like the visibility that you're going to get if you go play for Coach Prime. So I feel like he's not going to have any shortage of players. I also think that...
Wow. Don't you ever tell me what God ain't. Don't you ever tell me his limits. Don't you ever tell me what you're up against and what you can't do.
Some of the negativity that was going, why would you leave Jackson State when, you can sit there and win for the next 10 years, blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, okay. But what makes him Deion Sanders is what makes him take this challenge on. Don't forget that Jackson State was a dumpster fire when he got there. Between him and the athletic director, Ashley, they made a big push. And that was a partnership between the two of them. I know a lot about Mr. Ashley. He's, he was at Prairie View for a while as well. The guy is generally considered the best in the business. That being said, and so I don't feel like you're definitely going to lose much. I mean, are you going to get another Deion Sanders? Probably not. But you have guys like Eddie George that are already in the league. When we were talking with the Lone Star guys night before last, I feel like that was one of the things that we had kind of talked about that would be big would be to get more of those guys that can keep visibility on those kids and those players and try to help the sport down there. I wouldn't be so much to I know a lot of people are thinking that he left the job half done. Just my own opinion, and take it as you will. What else could he really do? You have to take what they started down there. I think that the rest of the schools around there and Jackson State themselves, and I don't have any doubt in Ashley getting it done. Dr. Ashley is going to get it done. The athletic director, no problem, right? He's not going to just not go get somebody good. That's not how it's going to be. I think that they had the succession plan set up as it was anyway. Now, that being said, the onus is on the SWAC teams, the SWAC, and including Jackson State. It's on them to continue to make things better for those programs. More people can step up and open their mouth. Okay. To me, I don't feel like he owes anybody anything. Now, there's a lot of people talking about it was selfish. It was always about him, that he used Jackson State. Doesn't everybody use each other in these situations? I understand that there's some hurt feelings. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes or saying that you're wrong necessarily. Whatever you feel as a fan of Jackson State or of the HBCU community, I can empathize with that. What I would tell you is if he's coaching and he wants to get to the next level, it was, when somebody comes calling at a school like this, because again, I feel like Colorado's a sleeping giant. They're in a conference that's winnable, a beautiful city, a fantastic stadium, the entire facilities for these guys are unbelievable. And you've got arguably the most famous guy in football from the past and even right now, kind of coaching you. So you're going to get some good players in there. I don't see why to me, I think it was a foregone conclusion. Bryce and I had been talking about this since before the season. That was one of our first shows. It's actually one of the shows that's done the best, was just talking about whether or not he should go. Now that he's gone, I say good luck to him. I think that whatever happens, I hope that everybody can, I'm glad that he is going to go back and coach the bowl game against the championship game is what they lost last year. They went 11-0 in SWAC and kind of got beat up a little bit. So I would say I would like to see him go ahead and get that done in the celebration. So last year it was South Carolina State, but they kind of put a little beating on Coach Prime's team. So I would tell you that him coaching it, it was something that matters to him. It was something that he told them. So it is December 17th at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. Wow, that's a big time game. Big stadium. There's going to be a lot of people in there. But there was a lot of vitriol coming back and forth, and the same team isn't getting there. It's going to be North Carolina Central versus Jackson State this time. So hopefully you get another really good game. But wow, yeah, there's a lot of seats. It's going to be a fun game, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? Do you think that it was time for him to go? What do you think that this means for the Pac-12? As I said, I feel like he comes in and he puts the entire country on notice here. Okay, let me know in the comments what you think as well. I think I might even pop we're going to put a poll in as well here on our YouTube channel. You can check that out, vote in the poll. I'm not exactly sure what I'll put in there just yet, but make sure you do. But also, guys, here's my thing, and I'm going to just say this one more time. The other night we saw on Friday night what Lincoln Riley's teams are about. They're great on offense. Caleb Williams is going to win the Heisman Trophy. What they aren't is they don't play that physical brand of football that you got to play in the playoff, and you got to play to beat teams like Utah. I venture to say to beat teams like Oregon coming up because of Dan Lanning having coached with Saban and Kirby Smart. This is the way. with Oklahoma is, us Oklahoma fans, we understand what happens to Lincoln Riley teams. It's the exact same thing that happened on Friday night. They get their ass kicked when they go up against somebody like this. Coach Sanders is going to bring a physical brand of football as well. There's no doubt about that. Okay. I would tell you that this guy is a problem for the Pac-12 first and foremost, but not even that. If he got the number one recruit in the country to go to an HBCU, he's already coming to Colorado, everything that I've heard. You get already a 2025 5-star. He's the number 7 receiver in the country coming out for 2025, 2 years away. He's already got that, and there's no telling what's going to happen with the portal opening today. So keep your eye on all this. It's going to get hairy. But what I'm going to tell you is you can the people that are dismissing this as, they suck. They were 1-11. It's just like what I've said this a lot with Oklahoma and USC. The SC team that Lincoln put on the field was not the same team that was on the field a season ago. Obviously, there was about 50 players that changed between transfer portal, recruiting, whatever. What they're not doing is doing what they need to do with defensive line. They're still not even in the top. I think they're in the top 15 now in the composite. It doesn't look to me like they're doing a whole lot different than what they did at Oklahoma. What you've seen at Oklahoma, who did go 6-6 because of the fact that 44% of the roster turned over at OU. It was not the same team as the 11-2 team from before. First off, Caleb Williams isn't there anymore. He's at SC. Also, Spencer Rattler went to South Carolina. Not to mention 13 players that were on the defensive depth chart of a defense that wasn't that good aren't there again this season. So believe me when I tell you, but particularly when you have the ability for players to transfer pretty much anytime they damn well please, okay? They're going to go get some players. They're already getting players. You're going to see this is going to change the dynamic in major college football. I believe that this is their worst nightmare. It's their worst nightmare. If you're a Pac-12 school, it's definitely your worst nightmare. I now feel like Lincoln might be the 4th best coach in the Pac-12. Good news for him is he's only got one more year. They go in 24 to the Big Ten. He'll be second or third best there. If he's still with them, I don't even know. Could he leave when Caleb Williams leaves? Yeah, maybe. That could be the deal. What I would tell you is, it doesn't, for you USC fans that have been bugging since that video that we put out yesterday and talking a bunch of junk to me, get used to this because this is what's going to happen. And I'm telling you, this did not help your cause. Not only that, it didn't help anybody else's cause. I would say Dan Lanning, the coach at Washington, those guys have a year heads up on Coach Prime, but they better be glad they did. And the same with Lincoln, but he's going to come in and out recruit probably most of those teams. Now, what I would tell you about Coach Whittingham is he's never relied on getting a top 10, 15 class. He gets the guys from JUCOs. He gets the guys that are in the portal. He has an amazing culture around that Utah Utes program of physical toughness, togetherness. I mean, they are a galvanized football team, and that's why they did what they did the other night. Caleb Williams, as great as he was all season, and as great as he was early in that game, got his ass handed to him. And Riley, and as you can see, Lincoln really didn't have an answer for it. He just really didn't. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But even looking at, if you're Oklahoma right now, there's a possibility that can hurt some of your recruiting as well. And I think for anybody throughout the country, you've got Hugh Freeze, who was talking the other day about, taking the job at Auburn, that they need players. this is going to hurt them as well. Those SEC guys, or the guys that you figured were going to go SEC, could very well go to Colorado now, go up to Boulder. The people that are dismissing this, do it at your own peril, because what have you ever known Deion Sanders to fail at? I just don't see it. So the folks that have been negative about it, that, oh, you're taking over a trash program, blah, 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 blah. This is, to me, again, I've used the word a bunch of times, but sleeping giant. And he can wake it up. He's going to bring players in. They're going to do things their way. We'll see if it works or not. But I can tell you they're not going to be short of players. And with the coaches that he's been able to bring in, and if you've watched any of his show that he does with the Barstool guys, man, they don't play. They do not play around. There's a lot of discipline involved in it. There's and you know, they want fast, big, nasty dudes, and they are going to go out and compete. So we're going to figure it out. But hey, I think that this is, I think even your Alabamas, your Auburns, the SEC is going to suffer from this. I almost felt like he might have taken that job at Auburn. I think that there's a chance that he may want the Alabama job at some point. That being said, this might be the kind of job that he could settle into and turn it into a major, major program again. It once was, folks. I remember back as a kid, they were the real thing. They were beating Nebraska. They were beating Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, we're talking about a big time program at one time that, you know, these guys were just something else. So something to think about. We'll see how long it takes. My guess is no later than year 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 6 or 7 games this season right off the bat because of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, and we don't even know who else is going to be there yet. Chances are, because of the fact that I don't think that the Pac-12 was very good this year. I know that you had a bunch of teams that were 9-3 and 10-2, but they weren't playing anyone except for, there was half of the conference was trash, the other half was okay, but the only 2 teams that played anybody out of conference that was really a threat, they got beat by them. The two teams that played an SEC team in week 1, Oregon got their ass kicked by Georgia, and then Florida beat Utah also in the swamp, but they lost the game, and Florida really wasn't that good this year. They're definitely having to rebuild themselves. That being said, they still beat both of those teams. Alabama State almost beat UCLA at the Rose Bowl. I think they lost by 1 or 2 at the most. That goes to show you that, you know, as good as they may have looked in conference, that doesn't mean a whole lot. So if you think that he can't come in here and compete, you might want to think again. I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I'll talk to you soon.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. Just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great.